Welcome to the Citrine Path, a space for healing, transformation, and authentic connection. Join us as we explore spirituality, energy, personal growth, and the journeys that shape who we are. Light the path within and step into the conversation. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Citrine Path. So, today we're going to be talking about a recent obsession of mine. It's called EFT tapping. And what is it? How to do it? What's it for? All of those fun things. So, have you ever heard of EFT tapping before, Mom?
I actually have, believe it or not. There is a lady here in our little town. Funny story with that is she is also a Reiki practitioner, and I currently rent her space that she used to rent. Somehow or another, we ended up in the same office. So everybody always thinks that's funny. She moved out, other people moved in there. Years later, I rent. So apparently, it must be meant to be a Reiki studio in that little room. So I did. She mainly focuses on EFT now, and so I did a session with her.
That's super interesting. Yeah, like whenever I do EFT tapping, it's more so along with something or to like help me in the moment. But I think that's pretty interesting that she's made like a whole practice out of just doing that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, she takes clients for it just like we take clients for our Reiki and weirdness.
Very interesting. So for people who don't know, EFT stands for emotional freedom techniques. It's often called tapping because it involves gently tapping on specific acupuncture points on the body while focusing on thoughts and emotions or beliefs that you're trying to call in. It's designed to help us acknowledge what we're feeling, help us work through it, calm our nervous system down so we can either look at things from a new perspective or kind of help rewire our nervous system to accept whatever it is we're trying to bring in.
So, what started your obsession with it?
So, I am always about what can either myself do or what can my clients do on their own to kind of give them back the power to make a difference, right? So the cool thing about EFT tapping is anybody can do it. You can do it anytime, anywhere, any place. There's no limitations to it. So, like, you can be in the parking lot of Walmart if you start getting super anxious. You could pull up like a video on YouTube or from my social media and do these tapping techniques to help calm yourself down. But I originally found it when I went through my hypnosis courses because she mentioned it in there about a really cool way and a cool thing to add in with the hypnosis.
Yeah, that's super great that it literally just takes yourself to be the tool. One thing I love about it is you don't always have to do the words, because at first I was super hung up on knowing what to say and where you're tapping and all of that. But the lady that I had the appointment with, she said that if you just feel yourself out of balance. So she was talking about like road rage. So she's like, you could just do the tapping, like how you're saying if you're sitting in a red light and you're starting to get anxious or, but you can't even formulate what to say yet, just start tapping.
Yeah, and it's also been a cool thing for my kids. 'Cause, I got tiny babies, their lizard brain is still forming and all that fun stuff. So whenever they get upset, I'll say, "Okay, let's play this fun game, right? And let's tap right here on our heads and say this funny thing. Okay, let's tap here and say this funny thing." Um, and they just think we're playing, but in all honesty, we're helping calm their nervous system down and they don't even realize it. And it makes a big difference.
Yeah, that's like the Happy Cell song that I was singing when the kids were over here. I think Willow, by the end of it, was done hearing the song.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. Ollie, not again.
Oh, so you did talk about nervous system. So can you go into a little bit more explanation of how tapping works from your perspective?
Yeah, so I think the most amazing thing about it is A, it makes you stop. right? So whenever you're anxious or you're stressed or you're having like an emotional crisis of some sort, it makes you stop and step away from the situation, first off. And then it makes you check in with yourself. Okay. It makes you, okay, why am I feeling this way? Um, and most of the time, whenever you're tapping, if you have like a specific script that you're using, like for example, there's a stress one that I really like, and it says, "Why am I feeling this way?" in part of the script while you're tapping. So it kind of makes you check in with yourself. Like I said, calms the nervous system down and just makes you slow down for 2 minutes, 15 minutes, however long you decide to do the tapping for.
So you keep bringing up points on your body. So what are all the points that you typically use for EFT?
Tapping is used in a couple of different places in your body, and these are typically acupuncture points. So there's one here on the side of the hand, and so what you do is you karate chop your two hands together and hit this spot on the side. Then what I like to use is two fingers on both my hands and tap the base of my eyebrows, like right next to where my third eye is, the corners of your eyes, underneath of your eyes, and then the base of your nose, like where your little lip crease is to the base of your nose. And then I use one hand in the crease of my chin, and then you tap your collarbones where there's like a little divot in your collarbones. That's where you tap there. And then this one, this is the cool one where you can check if you wore deodorant for the day. So you take your hand and you pick up your armpit and you poke at the base of your armpit. And then the last one is just the top of your head. You just tap the very top of your head. And those are all the points.
Very cool. So the armpit one, when I did my session, she had me just like hit my sides, but I didn't know exactly where. So you're saying it's more in your armpit?
Yeah, so like where I've learned is, like with the crease of your armpit from where your armpit goes into your ribs, it's at the base of your armpit right there.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's definitely up higher.
Hmm.
Okay, interesting.
But like I said, it's just acupuncture points. So I mean, if, she knows of a different spot that maybe releases something differently, I
Or
don't
maybe
know.
it was just my chubby arms couldn't reach up that far and she wouldn't say anything.
No, ma'am. Yeah, and most of the time I just say one arm, like just do one armpit. And then because typically when you do a tapping technique, you'll go through all of the points and then you stop and you take a breath and then you go through the points again. So most of the time, like the first set is understanding what the feeling is that you're feeling. And then the second set is most of the time like releasing that feeling, or if you're wanting to like call in abundance or like call in confidence or something, that's when you'll use the second set. So you could use one arm for one set and then use the other arm for the other. It's really just up to you. Again, it's you stopping, acknowledging, taking a moment, taking a couple breaths, calming down the nervous system.
So is that why people say affirmations or do the acknowledgement of their emotion while they're doing the tapping? Is because you're triggering two things at once?
So I think the best thing about it is you doing EFT tapping, you're not pretending everything's okay. We start by acknowledging what's actually happening. I'm actually having a panic attack. I'm actually whatever the case may be. Then, using the affirmations, you start introducing self-compassion and the possibility of change. So it's not so much of affirmations, it's telling your brain something can be different and it will be okay if it's different. And that honesty to yourself and that compassion to yourself helps people feel less resistance and have more acceptance to what they're wanting.
Okay, so it seems to be just as much about changing your thought pattern as much as calming your nervous system.
Yeah, because when your nervous system feels safe, it's easier to think, it's easier to process your emotions, and it's easier to change your perspective on things. So, if your brain is so muddled up it can't even figure out which way is up, how are you supposed to have a different thought? How are you supposed to have a different process to a situation?
So, what are some of the most common reasons why people use or should use EFT?
I've seen people use EFT tapping for stress, anxiety, like I said, confidence, calling in abundance, unlocking intuitive gifts. Um, Pretty much the sky's the limit. So, I mean, I always like to use it whenever I'm feeling super overwhelmed. I have an EFT tapping script that, I've already have recorded and stuff on my social media of calling your energy back and clearing negative energy from yourself. And that one I think is really powerful. I'll use that, after I'm done with sessions sometimes, or if I wake up, I'm just feeling kind of cruddy, I'll use that one to kind of knock everything off and start again.
I love that. So, you briefly mentioned having your clients do this. So, have you seen or experienced breakthrough that your clients have had using this technique?
Yeah, I've had a couple of people say, "Oh my God, like I feel so much calmer." Like my body just feels so much better. And I think it's those little moments that are the biggest big breakthroughs because they realize again, they have the power. They can make a difference in their life at home and necessarily don't need me all the time. Like I'm not here to collect money from everybody just because, I have this knowledge and you don't. Ha ha ha. Like that's not why I'm here. I want to teach you, give you the power to be able to do it on your own.
So, in your practice, I mean, I know, and most of our listeners by now know, that you do several different types of healing modalities. So, how does EFT fit alongside with your Reiki, sound, and essential oils and your hypnosis? Like, have you found that it crosses over and fits in pretty nicely, or was it something you had to adjust a little bit?
Yeah, everything that I have is another tool in my toolbox of awesome. So everything has its place, everything has its time. Just like you wouldn't use a wrench to unscrew a screw. Like that's not what that's for. So sometimes a client just needs to be like super relaxed and just, have some extra energy. So we'll do Reiki. Sometimes if, they're having a lot of pain in their neck or something like that, then I'll use a tuning fork and localize that one spot. Sometimes like hypnosis when people want to go see past lives or interlife regressions for that. EFT allows them to have a little buffer between coming and seeing me. So, if, for example, if you have a lot of energy that keeps getting stuck, doing that energy clearing at EFT in between when you come and see me makes a huge difference on how quickly their chakras get blocked up, the amount of energy that they're able to have. It's pretty cool to see.
That's awesome. I love that you made the analogy of like the right tool for the right job.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't take a blowtorch to get a screw off, So even though my husband might disagree with that one, everything's got its time and its place.
So, of course, like everything else that we do, it's not supposed to replace traditional mental health treatments or going to the doctor. So, how would you kind of explain when is the time? Like, how do you explain that to your client?
So it's a tool to help support your overall well-being, right? We kind of talked about in one of our last episodes about the power your mind has on, self-talk and stuff like that. So being able to do all of these things that we've already talked about, pull yourself out of the situation, calm yourself down. If you're having the cycle of negative self-talk, that's going to impact everything. So if you can, when you get into that cycle and you realize, oh man, like I'm doing it again, I need to get myself out of it. If you are seeing like a mental health professional or a physical professional or whatever the case may be, the negative self-talk is going to be the downfall of any situation. So, stepping away, stopping the cycle, everybody will benefit from.
I love how you explain.
So, when you're first starting EFT tapping, sometimes it can feel really silly, and you're like, is this even going to work? Like, what am I even doing? Right? So, like we've said, just try it. If it doesn't work, if you don't like it, if you don't notice a difference, then you don't have to do it again. But what if you try it and it does make a difference? What if you try it and you do feel better after the fact? Like, then you've got another tool in your toolbox as well. So just try it out for yourself. Like I said, it's super easy to find videos on like TikTok and stuff. I've done a couple of guided EFT tappings. You can find some on YouTube. You can look up scripts for yourself. Just Google it and just see. And it won't work if you don't believe it's going to work, right? The power of the mind is amazing. That's why they have placebo pills. If you're telling yourself it's not going to work, nothing's going to happen, guess what? It's not going to work and nothing's going to happen. It's just like Reiki with tuning forks, with yoga, with meditation, all of those things. It's always mind over matter. If your mind says no, it's going to be a no.
So, what you said is so true. I think people forget how powerful their mind is. Jokingly and funny, when I'm talking about that with my clients, I usually say, well, think about this. It's the only body part that was so smart. It named itself. And, it's one of those things like it's funny, but, technically it's true because you had to have a brain to think of something to call it, and your brain named itself brain. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, and
Uh,
there's this story that I've always heard. It's probably one of those like urban folklore, lord, whatever. But there's a story that I always heard about a guy who was on a train and he was like a train maintenance man. So while the train was stopped, his job was to like go through and like clean the train, make sure everything was up to par before they picked up new people. And he went into the fridge on the train. The door locked and he got locked inside the fridge. So he had told himself, it's so cold in here, I'm gonna get hyperthermia, like I'm not gonna make it out. This is horrible. This is gonna be the end. Okay, so they found him 2 days later inside the fridge, and he didn't make it from hypothermia. But the thing was, the train was off, right? Everything was turned off. The fridge wasn't even on. It was over 100 degrees in the fridge. And because he had worked himself up so much that that's what was going to happen, he was going to get hyperthermia. He ended up getting it in 100 degrees.
Interesting. So I think we talked about David Goggins a little bit at one point or so in the first season because I was a little bit more obsessed with him at that time. But David Goggins is a long distance runner. So there's a lot more to him. Yeah. So you just have to look him up. But anyway, so in part of one of his books, actually, it might have been in Jesse's book, but he was a part of it. And it was 30 Days with a Navy SEAL. And he's teaching this person who is already athletic, that already runs, already does this stuff. He's teaching him how to do it better because David Goggins is a very disciplined overachiever, I would say, in a lot of ways. But he gives no shit about self-comfort. Like if he's set to run this distance at this time, it doesn't matter if he doesn't feel good. It doesn't matter if he hurt himself, whatever, he does it. And that's kind of like his story to fame, I guess. But anyway, they were running in the wintertime in New Hampshire. So imagine that there's like knee deep, waist deep snow. They're by a lake that's like frozen solid. And they're out there in their little booty shorts and tank top, like running. And the person he's running with is complaining about the cold and about he's going to be cold because David runs in the same outfit every time. Doesn't matter. Like he varies it a little bit. He might throw on a beanie and some gloves, but he usually doesn't get like super bulked up with clothes. So he's telling the guy in the book, think of a warmer place, stop concentrating on the cold, concentrate on what you're doing and be more like present in like the physical thing that you're doing and what you're accomplishing now. And he uses the F bomb a lot. But basically he tells them to shut the F up and quit complaining about the cold. Because for one, he's tired of hearing it. And like you're saying, um, you're just hyper focusing on it. You're going to be more aware of it and more like susceptible to the cold. Um, they do their run. They even plunge in the ice in the frozen lake and go back to the house. And then he realizes, like, oh, yeah, it really wasn't that, like, he was cold, but he wasn't, when he stopped thinking about it, he realized he wasn't as cold as he thought he was. But I could see in extreme circumstances that that could go the other way, like check in with yourself. Like, it could really be that cold, and you could be putting yourself in a dangerous situation if you're not doing a reality check in. Super interesting how strong the mind is. And we
Yeah.
did do a podcast on that on the first season about the plants and the
Mm.
IKEA study. So if you haven't listened to that one, I always love that story. I bring up that study so many times. And then when I tell people it's by IKEA, usually that gets people's attention because they're like, oh, the cheap furniture place.
Yeah. I still think that was like one of my favorite episodes we've done. Makes you think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you want to do like a little demonstration of EFT tapping?
I don't, but you can definitely do that.
Okay. This is a EFT tapping script for stress because I think everybody feels stressful at one point in time or another. You can sit up, you don't have to do nothing crazy. So just, okay. So take a nice deep, slow breath in, hold for 3 seconds, and then let it out through your mouth. So we're going to start by karate chopping the two sides of our hands. So go ahead and repeat after me. Even though I've been carrying so much stress, I choose to meet myself with compassion. Okay, so now we're going to move to our eyebrows, right at the base of our eyebrows, right next to our third eye. Go ahead and tap with both hands and repeat after me. This stress has been weighing on me.
The stress has been weighing on me.
Now we're going to go to the sides of the eyes. I've been carrying so much.
I've been carrying so much.
Now under the eyes, my mind keeps racing.
My mind keeps racing.
Under the nose, my body has been holding onto this tension.
My body has been holding on to this tension.
And then your chin, I've been trying to keep everything together.
I've been trying to keep everything together.
And your collarbones, it's okay to admit that I'm feeling stressed.
It's okay to admit I'm feeling stressed.
Under your arm, your armpit, I don't have to carry all this by myself.
I don't have to carry all of this by myself.
On the top of your head, I acknowledge everything I've been holding.
I acknowledge everything I've been holding.
Okay, now go ahead and take another big deep breath in your nose. Hold it for 3 seconds. Blow it out through your mouth. Okay, now we're going to start the eyebrow again. This is when we're going to be releasing everything. So I am willing to let go of some of this stress.
I am willing to let go of some of the stress.
Move to the sides of your eyes. My body knows how to relax.
My body knows how to relax.
Under your eyes, I don't have to solve everything right now.
I don't have to solve everything right now.
Under your nose, I give myself permission to pause.
I give myself permission to pause.
Then your chin, I can release what no longer serves me.
I can release what no longer serves me.
Your collarbone, with every breath, I soften a little more.
With every breath, I soften a little more.
Okay, your armpit. I allow my shoulders to relax.
I allow my shoulders to relax.
And then the top of your head. I choose calm over constant worry.
I choose calm over constant worry.
Now take another big deep breath through your nose. Hold for 3, then let it out through your mouth. Now notice if your jaw is softened. Check in with your body. Notice if your shoulders have dropped a little bit. Now, one more round, and this is when we're calling in what we want, right? So we're calling in the peace in this one. So let's go to the base of the eyebrows. I welcome peace into this moment.
I welcome peace into this moment.
The sides of your eyes. I am safe to slow down.
I am safe to slow down.
Under your eye. My breath anchors me.
My breath anchors me.
Under your nose. I trust that one step at a time is enough.
I trust that one step at a time is enough.
And your chin. I choose to care for myself with kindness.
I choose to care for myself with kindness.
And your collarbone. Calm is available to me.
Calm is available to me.
Okay, under your armpit. I can return to this feeling whenever I need it.
I can return to this feeling whenever I need it.
And the top of your head. I am creating space for peace.
I am creating space for peace.
Okay, now take another big deep breath. Breathe out through your mouth. Okay, and then you guys can sit in this moment as long as you want to, breathe as long as you need to, but then just check in with yourself. How do you feel? How does your body feel? Do you still feel any tightness or anything in your body? Um, and that's a whole tapping script.
Very cool. Very cool. And I love that it can be edited to like whatever you're going through or issues you have or feeling a certain way, that you can edit it to whatever you're needing.
Yeah, and like I said, like people are trying to call in abundance, then there's tapping scripts for that, for losing weight, for like pretty much anything you can think of, there's a script out there for it somewhere. I'm not saying like, if you do this tapping for, I've never personally done that, but I've seen them out there. Um, but it's pretty cool. Just being able to have a tool to help you calm down and just relax, and just bring yourself back to center.
So, what would you recommend for somebody who is very beginner to all of this? What is something that you would recommend them when they're first trying this, to first tap on?
Yeah, so I mean, stress is always one that's really good. Um, kind of figure out why they want to, right? Most of the time people are drawn to something for a reason. What's drawing you to the tapping? Um, if there's any like emotional things that come up for them, start with that. Like, calm, bringing like lessening anxiety. Those are all good things I think everybody could start with. But like, I think it's pretty easy. Like, there's no crazy techniques or anything you need to have. And like you said, you can adapt it how you need it to be adapted. You can take or add what you want.
So, you just took us through a short little demonstration of what like a tapping session could look like. But let's say we did the first round and we weren't, well, like we acknowledged it, and then we did the second round. What if we didn't feel like necessarily a release or a difference? Could you repeat that round and maybe like change the lingo a little bit or do something until you like felt that before you move on to the next one?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You can even repeat the first part over and over again. Whatever you feel like your body needs, you're going to know better than anybody else what your body needs.
Basically, you could take any time that you have and make a session work at it. So it's not something that you're really need like, oh, I got to find 30 minutes of this and like prepare for it. So you would even just, well, kind of like we were talking about earlier, just doing the tapping one round if you're in a short thing would work. But I love that you could even adjust how long the session goes. Like if you feel like you need more, just do another round.
When I say session, it's, very loose fitting of, you know, but it could be anywhere from 5 minutes to 30 to even 45. And yeah, if you got 5 minutes, like we said earlier, at a stoplight, you know, some of these stoplights around here, I'm sure last longer than 5 minutes. So, being able to just tap for just a second, even if it's just to check in and acknowledge, right? So that first round of tapping was acknowledging what we were feeling, acknowledging the emotion. The second part was about the release, right? So just acknowledging what you're feeling. If like you're starting to have like a panic attack or you just feel super anxious all of a sudden and you don't understand why, checking in, putting a face to the name kind of a thing and understanding it, then sometimes you could just feel better just by understanding, oh yeah, okay, I'm feeling a little anxious because I had 3 cups of coffee this morning and didn't eat breakfast. You know, that kind of a thing instead of sometimes you can spiral, well, why am I feeling this way? Why is this happening? I don't understand. Why am I doing this? Well, guess what? You're making yourself more anxious and you're wrapping yourself even more. So, hey, yep, I had 3 big old cups of coffee, didn't have breakfast this morning. That's why I'm a little more anxious and jittery. Maybe I should go get some food. Boom, solved it right there.
I mean, that totally makes sense. Like we see that in other things that we do too, like people not eating or drinking enough water plays an effect of a lot of things. Sharing this more with your clients and like now the kids, you do it with the kids and now it's out on the podcast world. What is one of the biggest misconceptions that people have had about tapping or that you've seen?
That it's just tapping. Tapping is only one part of it. The real amazing thing about it is creating the awareness, compassion, and a new way to responding to ourselves in a healthy and manageable way. And, like we've said, it makes you step away, makes you think, calms you down. All of those things is what makes this such an impactful tool.
I love it. So, for anybody who is listening that could be struggling with fear, being overwhelmed, self doubt, self love, or anything along those lines, what would you encourage them to do first?
You acknowledging what you're feeling, understanding what you're feeling, but don't judge yourself. We are all humans. Everybody has felt those emotions at one point in time or another. And you don't have to fix everything today, right? Most of the time, the first step on your path to anywhere is saying, this is what I'm seeing, this is what I'm noticing. One step can I do today to make a difference? And just taking one step at a time. So if it's bad self-talk, your one step could be, hey, I'm noticing I'm being really hard on myself right now. Let me step away and tap for 5 minutes. That's your first step right there. And then, when you do it tomorrow, okay, I'm gonna go and hey, maybe instead of stepping away and tapping, I'm gonna go take a walk around the block. Just make one step at a time.
I love it. Yep, just start. Just come with an open mind, open heart. See what comes from it. If you want like listeners to take one thing away from today's episode, or like one thing you want to like drive home about all of the conversation that we've shared and all the information we've put out about this, what would be the one thing that you'd want them to leave with?
That starting either your spiritual journey, your health path, whatever it may be that you're wanting to start that draw you here today. You don't have to have all of these expensive gadgets and these big, cool things. EFT is a reminder that you can just use what you already got on your body, your little hands, and those can be an amazing tool as well. That being consistent and giving yourself self-care and giving yourself the time to step away and be with yourself is a huge part of your spiritual journey, your, whatever the reason why you got brought here today.
I love that you bring up self care because that is a thing I'm working on, like most of us are. But I love that you put this in that same category, that self care doesn't always mean manicures and massages, but taking the time to check in with yourself and letting yourself know that you're important to yourself, which I think a lot of us forget, is really great. And to be able to add, like you always say, add this to your toolbox of something you can do for self care and self check in, I think is great. So if somebody is listening to this and they want to work with you, do you do remote sessions or do you only do this in person?
No, so anything that I do, anything I talk about on this podcast, I can do all of it on Zoom. So I can do distance Reiki, I can do, all of the regression stuff all on Zoom with you guys. Um, so if you want to reach out to me if you're interested, um, we should have link trees down in the description. It will take you to every single 1,500 places I'm at on the interwebs. Feel free to reach out however you want to, or you can go to citrine and there is a book a session button right on there.
Right. Well, like always, we encourage you to learn the power. This kind of seems to be being our theme so far this season of taking back your power and knowing that you can do it. You can do it too. And learning and building your toolbox. So I just love it. I just love it. Some of the stuff that we've talked about this season, I wish I would have had 5 years ago, 10 years ago, which it was out there, but without the great World Wide Web for it. So I love that you're sharing all of what we call our weirdness. I'm glad you're sharing your weirdness and obsessions with us. Um, but like always, do your own research. Reach out if you have any questions. You can find either Amber with Citrine Enlightenment or me, Patsy, with Violet Elements on the Great Web. But all of our information, like Amber said, should be listed in the description. But like always, go forth with a love intention. And I hope you have an amazing day on your path today.
Thank you for walking the path with us. Until next time, stay grounded, stay open, and keep following your light. The views and experiences shared on Citrine Path are for educational, inspirational, and entertainment purposes only and are not intended as medical, psychological, or professional advice.